to have you here among us. Pediatric gastroenterology specialty is very grateful to you that you have graced this occasion, and I'm sure it will bring glory to all of us. Dr. Santosh Soames, guest of honor, and dignitaries of the gods, and my dear friends. It's a matter of great pride, pleasure, and satisfaction to have pediatric gastroenterology established now in the state of Karnataka for the first time. Still, our endeavor as Indian society was to reach every nook and corner of this country, and we desire that we go to different states. We have young talent of trained pediatric gastroenterologists now in Karnataka. Dr. Soames, I am requesting you that you should nurture them. They are here and they will do a commendable job, I'm sure. I am also one of them, but I am very old. I am not going to last for a long time. But they are young talents who are full of commitment and dedication. That's how we are having such a nice conference here today and with a very big participation. Another thing which I want to tell you that I am here in Bangalore for the last 4.5 years. In what I found I work in a private hospital because after retirement I had the option of I chose to come to Bangalore because of several reasons. I found two sets of people. One set who can afford the cost of the private sector, and also a section of patients who cannot afford, despite the fact they want our expertise and they want a care, but the affordability is beyond their pockets.
As Dr. Yacha said, this IAP which started in 1963, now it is 40,000 plus numbers, the recent census. It's grown through a long way. I think along with that, with a special relation with the Indian pediatric gastroenterology, we have grown to this stage. I was just wondering how these associations or clubs or all this, how they go about, how they get them sort of come to this stage. When I was analyzing, I thought they go through the 4 stages. One is a stage of struggle. That's a time even IAP also, when they had the branch, there were only hardly 3-4 people sitting on the benches of a classroom, just drinking possibly only tea as such. Then phase of growth will come, where there is number of people who are interested in that, join for that. Third phase is the growth phase. There is large number of people who are interested with join this association. And the last is the exponential growth which happens, which becomes like what the IAP has become. I am sure the Gastroenterology Association also will go through these phases. They are in the phase of growth now. This has happened world over. If you see Roman Empire, Victorian era, European Renaissance, even our Vijayanagar kingdom, where even the gold was sort of sold on the streets. I am sure, I think Mysore kingdom itself, I think during the time when we built the Krishnaraja Sagar, I think we had that wonderful time in this area. Pediatric gastroenterologist is really needed. As Dr. Yacha has said, I think the public sector and the private sector should come almost to the same amount of dedication, treatment and management should be offered even for the common man. I am happy to say that this happened in the neonatal care since about a decade's time. There were wonderful schools which were started in every district and taluk headquarters. Our neonatal mortality rate has come down. Even luckily, one of the things, good things happened during the COVID is every district hospitals had a very good pediatric intensive care which was started during that time, fearing the kids can get COVID and have problems. I am sure the government will take this up with our the leadership in IAP and pediatric gastroenterology so that every district should have a pediatric gastroenterologist. Though I am coming from Dakshina Kannada, with a college, with a district which has got 8 medical colleges within the radius of maybe about 10 kilometers. We never had a pediatric gastroenterologist. I am happy to say Dr. Prasad, who was trained under Dr. Yacha, has joined me with that. And this was wonderful. I am sure when I saw those academic program, I think today was for the gastroenterologists, tomorrow is for the pediatricians. I am sure when you go back, you will have a wonderful time with the scientific knowledge and also the goodness of Mysore. It's the most beautiful place. I really feel it is. Thank you so much for calling me here. It's wonderful to be here. I met so many of my friends here. It's so nice to meet. Thank you so much.
So they ask, why not Bangalore? But now we can say, why not Mysore the next time? When we started the preparations of this conference, it was like setting sail. And there were 4 or 5 of us with a ship which we had to sail and reach the other end of the shore. And today we are almost there. Dr. Neelam Mohan gave the push. And Professor S.K. Yacha, who is my guru, my mentor, and he's regarded as a father of pediatric gastroenterology in the country for bringing out so many graduates in pediatric gastroenterology. So he was like the lighthouse to guide us always, and he's rightly the patron of today's conference. I thank him for his guidance, and he would any day reply immediately when I asked him anything, even on WhatsApp, give him a call. So he's always there for us. While he was the lighthouse, we have the trinity of Dr. Ramesh, Dr. Moti, and Dr. S.N. Prashant, who are always there to hold our hands and walk us through. I thank IAP Mysore and all the members of IAP for encouraging me and for instilling that confidence in me that yes, we can put it all together and take it forward. Forever grateful to IAP Mysore. Dr. Shyam Sarvodaya, Dr. Nandini,
S. Yacha, Dr. S.R. Ravish, Dr. Athira Ravindranath, all the doctors present today on this August occasion, ladies and gentlemen, and of course our dear friends from the media, lest we forget that. It is an honor to be here today at the conference that I've organized here. I'll be very frank, certainly people who've got positioned by their birth endeavor always to kill pride and ego. But one thing I have always kept a little pride in is my ability to pronounce things very well. But this morning while I was going over what events I would have, I'll have to confess I did have to roll over gastroenterology a couple of times so that it would sort of get my tongue ready for today and today's speech. Nonetheless, it is an honor to be here today amongst all of you, and I'm sure what has been this today's and tomorrow's conference will yield many great new ideas, many great new relationships that will make our healthcare a lot more beneficial to not just those who can afford it, but every round of society as well. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of, obviously with the palace comes history always, and a little bit of history is relevant, especially whenever to deal with healthcare. Mysore, the erstwhile state of Mysore, as many of you may know, was the former avatar of the state of Karnataka. In fact, it was the government of Mysore all the way up to 1973 until it was renamed the government of Karnataka. And as such, in its former avatar, the Karnataka state, during its pre-independence area, was rated extremely highly in healthcare. At one point in time, it was in fact better to have healthcare in the state of Mysore than it was happening in England itself. And this little piece of information I found out when I was fortunate enough to go towards the celebration of the dedication of Nimhans as an institute of national importance. When I went there and inaugurated the Heritage Museum, it was the doctors at Nimhans who made me aware of this small piece of information. So as a result of that, obviously we went through a lot of small research into understanding why Mysore was so relevant in healthcare and what were the principles behind that more, I think, is important, especially when you want to reclaim that title, not just for Mysore, but the entire country, and not from any means of having it as number one healthcare, but because it will benefit society as a whole. I think in Mysore state especially, there was this idea, well, now very relevant, of Make in India. There was always a Make in Mysore. You know that from the many Mysore brands, Mysore Silks, Mysore Steel, Mysore Cement, whatever, Mysore Sandal Soap, many other brands were there from Mysore. And the same thing applied to medicine itself. You had, of course, the first opening was the Indian Institute of Science, so that you could have research done at every level, so that we were conducting our own research. It was birthed, of course, from the idea that we could test our own soil for iron ore, but it quickly grew into various other avenues. And alongside that was, of course, the many institutions within healthcare itself. Nimhans was pretty much even older than the Indian Institute of Science itself, and it was set up in Bangalore at a very early stage to deal with mental health care. Alongside that, in Mysore, you had the Mysore Medical College, which was one of the first of its kind in India, and also endeavored to set up the talent that would come through to serve society in these needs. You had, of course, Krishna Hospital here in Bangalore, Minto Eye Hospital in Bangalore, Victoria Hospital in Bangalore, and many other such locations to deliver the infrastructure necessary for the doctors to come in and give us good health care. Alongside that, of course, you had also our own traditional medicine with the government Ayurveda College here in Mysore, which was established so that both streams of medicine can mend together to give society the best of what can be, so that we do not negate what our traditional forms of medicine are, but at the same time build a hybrid so that we really benefit society. Alongside that, of course, Mysore now everybody remembers and knows is famous for yoga. In fact, we had the Honorable Prime Minister conduct yoga at the Mysore Palace at the last International Day of Yoga. Mysore's sort of tryst with yoga was from this endeavor to have a healthier society. In fact, the Maharaja brought down Krishnamacharya from the Banaras Hindu University when he was Chancellor there. Krishnamacharya IV was Chancellor at Banaras Hindu University, met Krishnamacharya there and brought him down to Mysore. And all modern yoga, including your Surya Namaskar, was birthed in Mysore. Because it was brought in, as the Maharaja said, the British had very much had a sort of pushed away all traditional forms of martial art and did not want martial prowess within the Indian community to come up. So Krishna Rodya had very clearly told Krishnamacharya, I want a lot more of a dynamic flow of movement to create a much more healthy individual who would be ready in case there is battle required. So he would look at, from the Maharaja Sanskrit College behind him, at the wrestlers or the akhada there, the Vajramushti akhada there, and saw the dands that they were doing and incorporated that and created vinyasa, of which, of course, the most famous form is, of course, the Surya Namaskar. So Mysore had all streams of healthcare here, which was to create the hybrid, which I think is the way forward for India. We cannot negate our traditional forms of medicine, because there is a great deal of wealth there of knowledge, but at the same time we must also accommodate and understand that the way the globe is moving forward as well towards what is modern medicine as well must be accommodated, and I think India is most well placed to build this hybrid because of we have, obviously I need not tell you all, a great amount of doctors here, and we lead the charge world over in terms of medicine as well. All the greatest minds, if it wouldn't be wrong to say a great percentage of that is Indians as well. So no doubt this hybrid model that India can be a part of can assuredly lead the way forward for a world, especially when making healthcare more accessible, because we know traditional forms of medicine are much more accessible in terms of cost when we look at things. So certainly this hybrid model will help us achieve that goal of bringing good healthcare to all sections of society. And with that small message, with the sort of the history, I will thank you all once again. It has been a pleasure to be amongst all of you today. The honor is entirely mine. I am not obviously as qualified as any of the doctors here to speak on any matters of pediatrics or gastroenterology or hepatology, but as a parent, I think it is a constant endeavor to give the best start we can to our children so that they can achieve greater things than us. And so obviously it is our duty to always as little as we can support such endeavors, because I'm sure the yields that come through, especially in the nutrition and other areas, will help us understand how to better cater to our children's needs so that they can achieve far greater things than we can. And I think that is the real motivation behind all of us in society really wanting to help out. And I'm sure our doctors will lead the way in that charge. So once again, thank you all for having me here this evening. It has truly been a pleasure. I wish this conference all the very best of success. I think Mysore, as you have said, is an apt location. We are growing as a city for conferences because we have obviously the best of recreation outside of whatever discussion and great work you are doing here with all the tourism here in the city, as well as the nature that abounds Mysore if you just go about an hour's drive away. So it's a great location for conferences, and I would certainly urge all of you to pass the word on that this is the location of Mysore has been great, because that is a constant endeavor here in Mysore to sort of push more industries, especially in the area of conference. With that, I will end my speech here. Once again, thank you all, and wish you all the very best.
Nandini, Bharat News TV, Mysuru.